felt a renewed sense of purpose. He looked at Vicky, her eyes filled with a quiet strength, and knew that together they could face anything. Chapter 8. The Weight of Expectations. The decision to live together, while a deeply personal one for Jack and Vicky, did not exist in a vacuum. In the conservative landscape of the 1980s, cohabitation without marriage was still largely frowned upon, particularly by older generations. The whispers, the raised eyebrows, the thinly veiled disapproval it all added another layer of pressure to their already strained relationship. Jack finally mustered the courage to tell his parents. He called his mother first, hoping her more open-minded nature would soften the blow. He explained their love, Vicky's trauma, and their mutual decision to forego marriage for now. His mother, after a long silence, had simply said, "As long as you're happy, dear. But I do hope one day you'll reconsider. Marriage is a beautiful thing." Her words, though gentle, carried the weight of her own expectations, a subtle reminder of the path he wasn't taking. His father's reaction was less forgiving. Living in sin, Jack, what will the neighbors say? What about the grandchildren? Will they be nameless? His father's voice, usually jovial, was stiff with disapproval, echoing Mr. Bradford's earlier outrage. Jack tried to explain Vicky's past, but his father, a man of rigid moral codes, couldn't comprehend a love that didn't fit into the traditional mold. The conversation ended with a strained promise to agree to disagree, leaving Jack feeling guilty and misunderstood. Vicky, too, felt this societal judgment. At the clinic, while her immediate colleagues were accepting, she occasionally encountered patients or their families who would make subtle remarks about her situation. "Such a lovely young woman. Why isn't she married yet? Or it's a shame. A girl like her, living like that." Each comment, though seemingly innocuous, was a tiny chip at her side, reinforcing her father's narrative that she was making a mistake. The combined pressure from their families and society began to fray the edges of their relationship. Small disagreements, which they once brushed off with laughter, now festered. Jack, stressed by the restaurant's dwindling profits and his father's disapproval, became more withdrawn. Vicky, burdened by her father's constant surveillance and the societal judgment, grew increasingly anxious. One evening, after another particularly nasty encounter with Mr. Bradford, who had demanded they replace a perfectly good faucet in their apartment, they had their first major argument. "He's doing this on purpose," Vicky exclaimed, pacing their small living room. "He wants us to break, to prove that we can't make this work." "I know, Vicky," Jack retorted, his voice tight with frustration. "But what do you want me to do? I can't just punch him. He's your father, and he's our landlord." "Well, you have to do something. He's ruining everything. He's ruining the restaurant. He's ruining our home. He's ruining us." Her voice rose, tears welling in her eyes. "He's not ruining us, Vicky. We're letting him," Jack shot back, immediately regretting the words as soon as they left his lips. Vicky froze, her eyes wide with hurt. "So, it's my fault. Is that what you're saying? That if I just wasn't so afraid of marriage, none of this would be happening? That if I was a normal girlfriend, your father wouldn't disapprove? And my father wouldn't be trying to sabotage us?" The raw pain in her voice cut Jack to the quick. "No, Vicky, that's not what I meant at all." He rushed to her, trying to take her hands, but she pulled away. "Isn't it? Sometimes I wonder, Jack. Sometimes I wonder if you regret this. If you wish you had just pushed me to take that job in Houston. If you wish you had just walked away when I said no to marriage, maybe it would have been easier for you." Her voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of her deepest fears. Jack felt a cold dread grip him. This was the fear, the insecurity, that had haunted her since childhood. The fear of abandonment, of not being enough. "Vicky, no. Never. I never regret being with you. This is hard. Yes, it's harder than I ever imagined. But being with you is worth every single challenge. You are worth every single challenge." He pleaded, his eyes earnest, trying to convey the depth of his love. But the seed of doubt, once planted, was hard to uproot. Vicky looked at him, her eyes still clouded with pain. "I just don't know, Jack. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this. To constantly fight, to constantly justify our choices. It's exhausting." She turned away, retreating into herself, leaving Jack standing alone, heartbroken. The argument hung heavy in the air for days. They slept in separate rooms, the silence between them more deafening than any shouting match. Jack tried to bridge the gap, leaving her small notes, bringing her flowers, cooking her favorite meals. But Vicky remained distant, lost in her own internal battle. She was wrestling not just with her father's interference, but with the resurgence of her own deepest fears about relationships, about whether love, even a love as strong as theirs, could truly withstand such relentless pressure. The weight of expectations, both familial and societal, threatened to crush them. Chapter 9. A Moment of Truth. The tension between Jack and Vicky, a palpable entity, stretched taut across their small apartment. The silence, punctuated only by the distant hum of the city, was heavy with unspoken words and unresolved fears. Mr. Bradford, sensing the discord, intensified his campaign, convinced he was on the verge of victory. One sweltering afternoon, a crisis erupted at the restaurant. The refrigerator, a temperamental relic, finally gave up the ghost. With a wheeze and a shudder, it stopped cooling, threatening to spoil an entire day's worth of fresh ingredients. The very heart of Jack's cuisine knew. Jack, already at his wit's end, was frantic. He called every repairman in the phone book, but it was a Saturday, and no one could come until Monday. Panic began to set in. Without a working refrigerator, the restaurant would have to close, and he couldn't afford another day of lost business. Mr. Bradford, of course, chose that exact moment to make one of his inspections. He surveyed the frantic scene with a smirk. Problems. Jack, perhaps you should have invested in more reliable equipment. A good landlord, such as myself, always ensures his tenants are using top-tier appliances. He offered, his tone dripping with false sympathy. This is my equipment, Mr. Bradford, and it's broken. I can't open the restaurant like this. Jack snapped, his patience finally at an end. Oh dear. Such a shame. Perhaps this is a sign, Jack. A sign that this venture is simply not meant to be. Perhaps it's time to cut your losses and move on. And perhaps, Victoria, you should consider moving on as well. Back home, where you belong, away from all this chaos. Mr. Bradford's words were a calculated strike, aimed directly at Vicky, who had just come downstairs, drawn by the commotion. Vicky watched, her heart aching for Jack. Her father's words a fresh wound. She saw the despair in Jack's eyes, the way his shoulders slumped under the weight of the crisis. And then, something shifted within her. All the years of fear, of allowing her father to dictate her emotions, suddenly coalesced into a fierce, protective anger. This wasn't just about a refrigerator. It was about her father trying to destroy the man she loved, to dismantle the life they were trying to build. No, Vicky's voice, though quiet, cut through the tension like a knife. Jack and Mr. Bradford both turned to her, surprised by her sudden interjection. Victoria, darling, this is hardly a place for you. Come, let's go upstairs. We can discuss your future, away from this mess. Mr. Bradford extended a hand, a patronizing smile on his face. Vicky ignored his hand. Her gaze, usually soft and hesitant, was now firm, unwavering. This is not a mess, Dad. This is Jack's dream, and I'm part of it. She stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Jack, a silent declaration of her loyalty. And you, Dad, are not going to ruin it. Her voice gained strength, a steel she rarely displayed. You think you can just waltz in here, buy a building, and dictate our lives? You think you can use your money and your power to manipulate me, to drive a wedge between Jack and me? She took a deep breath, her eyes blazing with a newfound courage. Well, you're wrong. Mr. Bradford's smug expression faltered. He had never seen Vicky like this. Not truly. He had always seen her as malleable, easily swayed by his influence. Victoria, you're being emotional. This is not like you. No, Dad. This is me. The me who loves Jack, the me who is tired of living in fear, and the me who is finally standing up for herself. She turned to Jack, her eyes filled with a profound love and apology. Jack, I'm so sorry. I let him get to me. I let my fears take over. But I won't anymore. We're going to fix this. Together. Jack, tears welling in his eyes, could only nod. He was overwhelmed, not just by her words, but by the sheer force of her transformation. This was the Vicky he loved, strong and resilient, finally breaking free from her father's oppressive shadow. Now, Vicky turned back to her father, her voice clear and decisive. The refrigerator is broken. Jack needs a new one, immediately. And since you're the landlord, you're going to arrange for a brand new, commercial-grade refrigerator to be delivered and installed by tomorrow morning. Or else. Mr. Bradford scoffed. Or else what?